Hi Flosstube, welcome back to my channel, Loves Rubber Stamps Needle Crafts. My name is Laura, and this is my second video that I'm filming today. My first video that I did was I shared a finish and then went through my under the desk box of things that need to be FO'd or FFO'd, and then I shared a ton of haul. With this video, my plan is to do a WIP Parade for 2020, and then share my rotation that I plan on doing this year and some of my stitching plans. So we'll go ahead and get started. First, before we get too far, I wanted to share, as I was getting my WIPs ready, I found another finish that was in one of my project bags that I forgot to share in my last video. So I'll share that quick. It's just a little Mill Hill kit. This one's called Hot Stuff. And this one I stitched. My daughter had to have gallbladder surgery. So I'd started it at the hospital while she was in surgery and in recovery. So it didn't take too long to stitch. This is going to be for her. I'm going to make it into a magnet. So I forgot to share that one because, like I said, I found it in a project bag. And then I wanted to share a project bag that I made for around Christmas time. I made one of these for my mom and one for myself. I'm still pretty new at making project bags, and I'm still learning how to sew. So it's not perfect, but it holds a project, it zips, and it works. So, and it's just for me and my mom and my sister when I get hers made. This is the back. So that was fun. And I used the tutorial that I used to make this kind, the vinyl front bag. If you look at Calico, she does Flosstube videos. She made a really good tutorial for beginning sewers, where she wore a GoPro camera and shows you step-by-step how to do these. So that's the tutorial that I use when I make those bags. I also wanted to share two pieces of haul really quickly. They're both digital patterns, so I don't have anything physical to show you. I'll try to insert pictures. The first one I got was from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it was a little koala pattern that they designed, and all the proceeds from that one they're going to donate to Australia for the fires. It's so heartbreaking to see the loss and everything that the people in Australia are going through with those. So our hearts and prayers are with you guys. So I'll try to insert a picture here of what the koala pattern looks like. And that one's from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it's $5. And like I said, they're donating all the proceeds to Australia for the fire relief. The other pattern that I got was from Heaven and Earth Designs, and it's called Sad Koala, and it was a special design made by Dakota Detweiler. I hope that's how you say her last name. Michelle had contacted her and asked her if she would design a pattern for Australia, and they're also donating all the proceeds from the sale of the cross stitch patterns, and I believe Dakota is also donating $10 for every print of her painting that she sells as well. I went ahead and purchased the cross stitch pattern to help support the fundraiser. But actually, my husband bought me the original painting of the Sad Koala, which is amazing. I had told him about it. Dakota had posted a video of herself painting it's like a time-lapse video of her painting the picture. And I fell in love with it. It so captures it perfectly, what they're going through. So I had told my husband about it, and he actually bought me the original painting from her shop, and it's supposed to be here in about 2 weeks. So as soon as that comes in, I'll share it with you guys. But it's amazing, and he bought it for me, so that's awesome. Now we'll go ahead and I will go through my WIPs. I have 24 cross stitch WIPs currently, and I also have one quilt that I haven't finished. I have one crochet project on the go and one latch hook project on the go. So I thought I would share all of those with you guys. So we'll go ahead and get started so we can get through them. My first project, I'll share my heaven and earth designs that these are my work projects. These ones I work overnight shift as a police, fire, and medical dispatcher. So we're able to bring in books to read or crafts to do while we're not taking any calls or have any other work to do. I work the overnight shifts from 11 till 7 in the morning, so typically between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. there's not a whole lot going on, and as long as I don't have any other work to do, I can cross stitch. So I have some heaven and earths that I take to work and try to rotate through. So the first one, this is the one I've been working on a lot here lately. This is my oldest WIP. This is the one that I came back to stitching in September of 2015, and that's when I started this one. It's New Girl 3 by Beck Winnell. That's what it'll look like when it's finished. And here's where I'm at. And I forgot to say that if the WIPs I'm showing were in my very first WIP Parade, and I've made progress on them since my last WIP Parade, I'll try to insert a picture of where it was before this WIP Parade. So I did actually make progress on this one, so I'll insert a picture of where it was quickly here. And here's where I'm at now. So I have 4 complete pages done, and I had the 4 pages finished with my last WIP Parade. So this is page number, this is the 3rd page, and then I work down. So this is page 1, 2, and I believe 11, 12. So this will be 3, and then this will be like 13 when I get that one done. I've almost got page 3 complete. I think I only have a few, maybe 300 or 400 stitches scattered around. So I've been working on this one quite a bit because I want to get the page finish before I rotate. The next one, I actually was surprised to see that I haven't pulled this one out and worked on it since my last WIP Parade. So sorry, Mom, because this one's hers. This is Randall Spangler's Dog Double Shelf. And this one, like I said, I'm stitching for my mom, and this is where I'm at on that one. So I have 1 full page, almost like just I believe just a tad less than 2 pages. And this is the 3rd page and the 4th page. And then another one is, I was also surprised to see that I haven't made any progress on since my last WIP Parade. This one is Heaven's Little Angel by Katerina Kukaitis. And that's where I'm at. It's got a lot of Kreinik in it. I don't know if you can see the sparkle. This one I'm stitching 25 count Lugana 2/1. This one's a little bit bulky. I don't recommend 2/1 on 25 count. I'm going to go ahead and stick with it though, because there's only 13 colors in this, so it's not very confetti heavy. My other two, actually all of my, well, the other two Heaven and Earth that I showed were both on 28 count 1/1, which is my preferred way to stitch them. My last work, Heaven and Earth, is Dreamer Max Colors by Nadia Strelkina. This one is the Max Colors version. And I did make a little bit of progress on this one since my last WIP Parade, so I'll insert that here. And here's where I'm at now. I almost have a complete page finish on this one. This one is major confetti. So it's very slow going, but it will look amazing when it's finished. I did see one lady that had finished it, and it's gorgeous. You can see my back is really messy because you're changing color all the time. So those are my 4 Heaven and Earth. Like I said, I do take them to work and rotate through them. What I would like to do is, once I get the page finish on New Girl 3, I would like to, I'm trying to debate on how I want to do the rotation for those at work. Before, I used to do every week. I would work on one and then switch it out. The problem with that is I felt like I didn't get very far because some nights I didn't have very long to stitch on them. So what I might do is, so I get progress on all of them, is do it kind of the way that I'm rotating the Heaven and Earth that I do at home. And I'll show you one of the Heaven and Earth that I work on at home is my King Coda Storyteller by Amy Stewart. This is the super size Max Colors version. And this one is on my Mark II floor stand, which, because it's a super size, it's giant. So I will insert a picture here of where it was at my last WIP Parade. And then I'll insert a picture here of where it is currently. I actually just started working on this one again just a couple days ago, actually, to get my next rotation in. Right at the beginning of the year last year, or when I did my last WIP Parade, actually, I was doing a rotation that worked really well for me, and it was helping me get a lot of progress. Well, then I fell off my wagon of the rotation and just started stitching on whatever I felt like. And so that's why some of these WIPs don't have any progress. And same for my Heaven and Earth at work. I fell off my rotation. So I'll talk more about the rotation when we get to that part, and how I think I'm going to implement the rotation for all of my WIPs, including my work ones. So we'll cover that more after the WIP Parade. Now I'll share how I store my WIPs, and the ones that aren't on scroll rods, I have just a decorative box like this, and I use those. This is my WIP box, and this sits on the bottom shelf of I have like a computer cart, that table that you roll around. And so I use these 12 by 12 scrapbook paper holders. From the Paper Studio. I get them at Hobby Lobby. So we're just going to go through my WIPs. They're not in any particular order. I'll try to tell you the year that they're from and what they're stitched on as we go through. So the first one that it is in my pile, it's in one of my So Much to Love bags, project bags. And this one is a 2019 start for me. And this is the Spring ABCs by Little House Needleworks. And this one wasn't in my first WIP Parade because, like I said, it's a 2019 start. And here's where I am. I'm down through M. And I am changing a few of the colors. I'm stitching this on it's a 28 count Monaco that I coffee tea dyed. And I'm adding some little bits of, I think it's Ladybug. It's the color that Priscilla used. And I'm also adding some, like for the trees, I'm adding hickory sticks. And I think that's really the only changes I've made so far. Everything else is the same, or the called for colors. So that's where I am with that one. I do want to stitch this whole series. I do have the winter one finished and then working on the spring. I still have this summer and fall to go. My next WIP is also a 2019 start. This one is Jolly Happy Soul by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. And this one is in my Farm Girl Michelle Rudy Fox bag. This one I'm stitching on 40 count Mallow. And here's where I am. It looks really good on here. This little bird is 1/1 on 40 count. I think when I counted, if I remember correctly, there's like 46 or so stitches in that. And I had actually started this one on the 40 count for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat. This was going to be my exchange piece. And this 40 count Mallow, I have such a hard time stitching on it because it's a really tight weave and it's really hard for me to see the holes. So it was very slow going. And so I restarted this design and stitched it fully on a 30, I think I switched it to a 36 count fabric and stitched it and finished it for my exchange piece. I wanted to stitch this for myself also. And because I had so much done already, really all I have left is the snowman, a few of the vines on this side, and like the little birds up there, and the snowflakes. Well, about half done probably. A little less than half. So this one's going to be for me. I'm going to struggle through it, but that Mallow is really, I'm finding it really hard to stitch on. I know some people love it, but that 40 count one is tough for me. My next one is in this project bag that I got from Linda Jo Pretty Southern in a patriotic exchange. She was my partner. And this one I started in 2017. So I'll insert a picture of where I was in my last WIP Parade here. And here's what the inside fabric looks like. This is Redbirds by Marie Barber. It's in this November, December of 2011 Just Cross Stitch magazine. And this is what it will look like finished. And I'm stitching this in honor of my grandma and grandpa who passed away. I was really close with them, and I'm stitching this in memory of them. And here's where I'm at currently. Sorry for the wrinkles. I basically have almost this whole middle section done. And now I've worked over and I'm just starting the female cardinal. And the berries above her. And that'll be the top, basically the top of that page done. And then I'll work my way down, finish these pages, and then work over and up to do the male cardinal. And I'm stitching this on 28 count lamb's wool Jobelin. I'm hoping to get this one finished this year. It was part of my stitch 9 for last year, but I didn't get it finished. I got a lot of progress though. It's a lot bigger than you realize. Which is the majority of my projects. The next one I have is in my project bag I made myself. It's in this little dog one. It's got bow wow, roof, words. This one I started in 2019 too. Let's see inside. Don't want to lose my buttons. This is an ornament that I'm stitching for my sister Leah and her husband. They live in Florida, so I thought it'd be kind of funny to share or stitch them kind of tropical ornaments. And that's the one I'm doing. I just call it Bra Snowman because it doesn't really have a name. But I thought that was hilarious. This will be hard to see because it's just white. I don't have any other colors, so this is on 28 count Summer Clouds by Stony Creek. It feels like a Monaco. It's really thick. I'm having a heck of a time stitching this one. I had a frog because there's some, I think there was some half stitches, or not half stitches, like fractionals that messed me up because it's hard to see those white stitches on that fabric. But that's located in their June 2009 magazine. My goal, one of my goals is I want to stitch every year a Christmas ornament for my brothers and sisters, and I'd like to stitch one for each one of my kids and also for our Christmas tree. I say that every year, and every year I haven't gotten them finished. So 2020 will be my year, I hope. My next WIP was also one of my Stitch 9 pieces that I didn't get finished. And this one was in my last WIP Parade. I had started this one in, 2018, sorry. 2018. And it's called Promise Me by Lizzie Kate. And I'll insert a picture here of where I was last time. And I'm not that much farther. I got the word and finished, and the word and then, or than, and a branch. And this I'm stitching on 28 count lamb's wool linen, which is the called for, I think. No, it's supposed to be on 32 count, but I'm doing it on 28. I would like to get this one finished this year. This is going to be a gift for my daughter whenever I get it done. Probably a Christmas present. My next one was also a Stitch 9 failure. And I haven't worked on this one since I showed it last time. This is Samplers and Stories Herbal Grimoire. And this is all I have done so far. This is on 40 count mummy wraps, and I'm going to use some Dinky Dye silk for the words and some of the book pages. I had started this one for Stitch Mania in, when was it? 2018. And haven't really got to work on it too much since then. The next WIP this one was started in 2016 for Stitch Mania, and it's the Seasons in Chalk Art Winter by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blaine. This one was in the February of 2016 issue of Just Cross Stitch. I'll insert a picture here of where I was my last WIP Parade. And here's where I'm at now. So I've worked on it a little bit, I think one rotation since last time. And this is on 32 count slate by Fabrics, Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. That's another one that I really hope to get finished this year. My next WIP. This one I don't have a cover picture for, so I'll insert a picture here of what it will look like finished. This is The Fortunate Traveler by Teresa Wensler. And I bought it from Patterns Online when they had her dragons on there. I'll insert a picture here of where I was the last time. And here's where I'm at currently. I do have a little bit of the bush done. You can't really see it without unrolling it, but I have worked more on this border, filling it in. I think I'm on the last color to add to it, and then the only thing is left is to do those crisscross lines, and then I can move down to start doing some of that or do inside the box. I'm stitching this one on 28 count cream cashel linen, and that's the called for, and I had started that for Stitch Mania in 2016. Oh, not a lot of progress on that one. My next one, I haven't made any progress since my last WIP Parade. This one is, oops, sorry, in the Stony Creek August of 2007 magazine. And there's a lot I want to stitch out of this magazine. It's really good. It's the Believe Snowman. And I had started this one in 2018, and it's on a 28 count white opal Lugana, and all I have is the top line and the border. I had seen this one stitched up. Two ladies have brought it to the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat when they'd stitched it and have them framed, and it's beautiful when it's finished, so I really need to get that one done. Sorry about the crinkles. I got this new iPhone and I think it picks up a lot more of the background than my old phone, so I apologize. My next one is Eat My Dust. It's a Gold Collection Candlemar kit. And I started this one in 2016. It was a Stitch Mania start. And I'll insert a picture of where I was in my last WIP Parade. Oops. Here's where I'm at now. And I'm just stitching this on the 16 count Aida, ivory Aida that came in the kit. My next one is the Mirabilia, my first Mirabilia. And I started this one in 2019 also. This one is Raven Queen. And I'll try to unroll this a little bit so you get the gist. I'm stitching this on 32 count Belfast and Carp Noctem by Sunny Dyes Fabrics. And I wanted to center the tower so it went over the moon. So that's where I'm at. That one. My next one is I haven't made any more progress on this one since my last WIP Parade, but it's Fresh Eggs Farm by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blaine. I started the big one. And here's where I'm at. I just have part of the chicken. And this fabric was a 32 count Belfast that I dyed myself to look chalkboard like. This is another one I really hope to get finished. I have the piece that I'm going to mount it to hang on my wall to switch out all the farms as I get them finished. So this is the first one I've started, so I need to get that one done and the other three. And I had started that one in, let's see, 2018. And it was a Stitch Mania start. The next one, I haven't made any progress on it since the last time you saw it. And this one I don't have a colored picture printed off, so I'll insert a picture of what it looks like finished here. It is the Doreen Jones Lakeside Needlecrafts Fantasy Cell. And this one is being stitched on 32 count Belfast and Fairy Dance from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. and it's an opalescent, and I started this one in 2016. And I have the first page border done, all the blocks, and 3 characters. The characters that I have done, I have the Pegasus and the Wizard. And then the Witch, I changed this block, took out the row of pumpkins and added the cauldron, and I did her hair with turkey work so it's fuzzy. That was my first time trying that stitch. Stony Creek uses it a lot for their witches. So this next WIP is going to be a restart because I don't like the fabric I started it on. So I haven't done anything on it since last time. This is Sea Pearl by Maxine Gadd, Mystic Stitch. And I had started this one on a 25 count antique white Lugana. But I'm doing it 2/1 and it's really thick. And just doing the black, it was starting to hurt my fingers. So I'm going to switch the fabric to a 28 count, possibly, or maybe even, because this one's not as big as a Heaven and Earth. It's only a 250 by 350. So I might do it on 20 count Aida. I have to figure out the dimensions first. But I'll either switch it to 20 count Aida or 28 count Lugana and stitch it 1/1. So I like stitching on it more. So that'll be a restart one of these days. My next one, I haven't made any progress on since the last time. And I'll insert a colored picture of what it will look like here. This is a Heaven and Earth stocking called Shih Tzu for Christmas. And I'm going to stitch this one for my daughter Alicia. It's on 20 count Aida. That's as far as I've gotten. I want to stitch stockings for all of our family, so I need to get mine, my husband's, and my son's started. And then my goal is, once I get those done, I would like to stitch like my brothers and sisters and their kids, my nieces and nephews. I'd like to stitch them all stockings too. Very ambitious. So we'll see if it happens, but I'd like to. This next one is going to be a restart too, because, sorry, I love how this one is finished, and I haven't made any progress obviously since the last time because I'm going to restart it. But it's in the February of 2007 Stony Creek magazine. It's the Winter Bell Pull, the old one. And I really love the way it looks as a bell pull. I did buy the bell pull fabric, and that's what I originally started it on. Here's where I got to. This fabric is pretty big holes, so it's real loose. And it's really super long. And we have a small house, and I don't really have any good place to hang a bell pull that's that long. So I wouldn't have anywhere to really display it, for one. For two, I saw this really cute finish a lady did of this. She had bought one of the, it's a big kind of calendar that has chalkboards. It has one for each day of the week. It was at Hobby Lobby. and she popped the boards out and she had finished it and put like a letter where those chalkboards were, and it was so cute. I'll insert a picture of her finish here. So I bought one of those at Hobby Lobby when they were 50% off. So I have it in my closet waiting for me to finish this design so I can finish it like she did. So I need to restart it on regular fabric and get that finished so I can do that. And then I plan on stitching the other seasons and being able to swap them out for each season, and then just be able to leave that up on the wall all the time with whatever season it is at the time. My next WIP is the Paula Vaughn Quilts for You. They're from the Quilts of All Seasons. And I'm working on the November quilt, which looks like that. This was one of my Stitch 9 pieces that I didn't get finished. This one I started in 2016 as well. I did make some progress on it, so I'll insert a picture of where it was here. And this is where I'm at now. I'm stitching this on 32 count cream Belfast. And I've got all the quilt outlines done. That was a pain in the butt because it was all fractionals. Each one of those stitches for these middle is all fractionals. So it took forever. But now that I got the hard part done, once I get the quilt done, it should go pretty quickly because I think a lot of the background is just half stitches. So once I get that far. My next WIP is another one that I haven't had any progress on. And I'll insert a picture here of what it will look like finished. Actually, I have one here. It's Into the Jungle, Sal by Frosted Pumpkin. So I don't need to insert a picture. But I bought this one because the block they kept showing was this cute little sloth, and I really wanted the sloth. So I got it and I was super excited to stitch the sloth. And I did, and then I haven't picked it up since. So here's my sloth. And I'm stitching this on 28 count. It was a limited edition from Crafty Kitten from her July 16 Fabric of the Month. So cute. Then my last cross stitch WIP is from this book, Cross Stitch Safari by Jane Nutley Mayhew. She's one of my favorite cross stitch designers. And this one is called, I started it in 2017, and it's Giants of the Plains, the Elephants. And I'll insert a picture here of where I was last time. And here's where I'm at currently. This is being stitched on 28 count Stony Creek Summer Clouds. The amazing thing with her charts is it just uses DMC and there's no back stitch or anything. So the detail she gets is amazing. So those are all of my cross stitch WIPs currently. Like I said, I have 24. Now I'll quickly show you my quilt work in progress. This is my very first quilt. I learned how to sew it watching a Missouri Star quilt video. It's called a double slice quilt. Hi, Mr. Teddy. You gonna move so Mama can get her quilt? You wanna say hi? Sorry, my dog's behind me, so I can't scooch my chair. Here is what it looks like. So I have all my blocks, basically I have the top sewn. And I just used a layer cake. And I can't remember what the layer cake was called. I kept the card. I'll have to find it. So I have that all sewn. My dilemma is if I want to add borders, because I've never done that. Like I said, this is my very first quilt. I don't know how to quilt. I don't know how to sew very well. So it's all a learning experience. This is just going to be for me and our house. So it's definitely not going to be perfect. So if I decide to do the borders, I got this red that I could use, or this green, or do two borders, like one and then the other. And then I got the fabric line is Hearthside Holiday, is what it's called. And then I ordered this black snowflake one because I thought that would be cool to do the binding in whenever I figure out how to do binding and learn how to do it. So that's what I'm gonna use for the binding. And then I got just a black plaid, which will be my backing fabric once I figure out how to do backing and the padding. And then I think to do the quilting on the top, I'm gonna try doing that kind of the stitch. It's gonna be very basic, where I just kind of go in between the bigger blocks and just stitch real basic. So that's my quilt. I would like to just suck it up and get this done so I can have it as a throw for Christmas this year. But I thought I sewed pretty good for not knowing how to sew. I mean, things look pretty straight, so that's awesome. And really, this top didn't take very long, maybe 2 nights. So it was really fun. And if it turns out good, I thought about making some of these maybe for gifts, just to family, because they definitely won't be perfect. So I'm pretty proud of that one. It's my, like I said, my very first quilt. So let me see if I can finagle around my dog and get my next WIP. I'll show you my latch hook rug. This is what it'll look like. Oops. It's it's called Lion. That's it. It's pretty big though. It's 27 inches by 40 inches. And I've only done one other latch hook when I was little, or probably about 10, 11, 12. I was doing it for my dad for Christmas, and I got about 3/4 done, and then my mom had to finish it for me. So I'd started this one. It's giant. This is all I've got done so far. And the reason why that's all I've got done so far is because I was noticing that, you know how they put the coloring on the canvas that kind of shows you when you change colors, all that stuff. Well, it's not even at the top. It kind of goes down at a slant. So you do have a chart that you follow, just like a cross stitch chart. So I'm going to count the rows from the bottom to the top and see if the row that I started it, by the time you get to the top, if you would still see the colors of the, or if I need to move up a row or two. So when I get this finished, you won't see this printed on color stuff. So I want to count before I go any further and make sure that's going to get covered and that I'm not going to get clear up to the top and have this wonky edge. So that's why I kind of stopped on that. Plus, because it's so big, I have to work on it upstairs at my table, and usually my table is full of crap. So my last WIP I'll show you is my crochet. And this is a blanket I started probably 6-7 years ago now. Well, I started it in 2014, 6 years ago. And the pattern is the blackberry salad striped Afghan. And I had started this one for my niece who was pregnant at the time. It was supposed to be a baby blanket for my great niece. She's now 6. And this is all that I have finished. So it's that tall. The pattern, you make these little they're bobble stitches. So but then the back of it is flat. So I plan on finishing this. It's going to be too small for Zaina now, but I will finish it, and eventually I hope I will have a grandchild that's a little girl, and this will be for the way I crochet Afghans as long as it takes me. By the time I get this done, I might have a granddaughter. So then she'll have a blanket all ready for her. So I don't crochet very often because I was having a lot of issues when I crocheted of my fingers going numb, like I was getting carpal tunnel. So I'd only be able to do a row or two before, sometimes not even a full row, and then my fingers would start going numb. And so I bought these, trying to find them, these Clover Amour hooks. And I crocheted one of those mermaid tail Afghans using these. Didn't have numb fingers once. So I haven't really stitched on this one, crocheted on it to see how it does with this kind of stitch. So that might be something if you're having problems with your hands and you like to crochet, maybe try these hooks. They're expensive, but they seem to work. Oh, here's the baby side. And the way I'm doing my stripes is very technical. I have this every color in my Afghan. I wrote down on a piece of paper. I shake it up, draw a color. That's the stripe. When I get done with that color, I leave it out while I draw the next color and then add that one back in it. That way they're random and there's not two of the same color in a row. But that's my technical way I'm picking my colors. So those are all my WIPs in progress: crochet, cross stitch, and my quilt. Let me see if... It's our teddy. Come here to mama. Come here to mama. See if I can show you my baby. Come here to mama. Oh. Oh. Oh, he bonked his head. This is Teddy. Say hi. Say hi, dude. He weighs like 30 pounds, so he's a baby. You say hi? Say hi to the people. Look. There's Daddy. There's Daddy. Good boy. He likes to be right under my chair. He's my baby. Yes, good boy. Okay, here you go. He's probably ready to go upstairs. So really quickly, make sure he's not under my chair so I don't run him over. I'll go ahead and talk about the rotation that I plan on doing this year. When I did my last WIP Parade, I was doing this rotation right after, and it seemed to work really well for me. And then I got off because I started, getting things ready for retreats and wasn't able to do my rotation. And once I got off my rotation, I didn't really get back to it. And when I was doing it, I felt like I made really good progress on my WIPs, and I seemed to be able to touch quite a few of them. So because of my schedule at work, my schedule rotates, so I don't ever have the same days off. And there's times that we get mandatory where we have to work 12-hour shifts. And on those days, I basically work and sleep. That's it. So I don't get a stitch every day. And so the best type of rotation for me was going to be a time-based one. So I picked 12 hours. So basically what I was doing is the way I'm going to do it this year is because my King Coda design is a supersized heaven and earth. It's going to take me 1,000 years, to get that done. So I want to make that one a piece that I work on pretty regularly. So I'm going to work on my King Coda, and this is how I'm going to do most of my heaven and earths, I think, when I rotate to them. So this is, you can't see it. This is a page of King Coda, and this page is almost solid black. So I like to work from the large format charts, which if you count them, these two horizontal rows across are about 1,200 stitches, which for me, even when there's confetti, it roughly takes me about an hour to stitch one of these. So it's still about 12 hours. So when I do King Coda, I switch to him. I do 2 horizontal rows. And if the last row isn't a full 10 by 10 block, I'll go into the next page and finish the 10 by 10 square. And then I'll do like a few other stitches and then park my thread so I don't get page lines. And so I'm gonna, I'm gonna do King Coda as a rotation and do 2 horizontal rows when it's his turn. And that means that when I rotate to him 4 times, I would have a page finish after 4 rotations. And then, so I'll do King Coda. And then what I think I'm going to do, what I did last time is I would do King Coda and then I would draw a random WIP. And my drawing was super technical, just like my crochet. I have all my WIPs wrote down on pieces of paper, and I would shake it up and I draw one, and then whatever WIP I drew, I would work on that WIP for about 12 hours, and I would just keep a tally on a piece of paper until I got to about 12 hours. At the end of 12 hours, if I was close to like a good stopping point or a goal, I would just get to that point before switching. There are a few projects that it's better for me to have a goal-based rotation instead of the full 12 hours. For example, on my Into the Jungle, we'll just use that as an example. When this one comes up, I would probably stitch like the whole character block. So that would probably be about 12 hours, maybe a little more. And then I would stitch that whole block, and that once I got that whole block done, I would call it good. Same thing with my Doreen Jones Fantasy Sal. I want like one rotation, I would do the border on that page, because I think it's 6-page pattern. And then once the border was done for that page, then I would switch to the characters, and then each rotation that was drawn, I would do one of the full characters before switching. So depending on the WIP, there's a few that would be better to do it that way. So last time when I did it, I just did King Coda, then I'd do the random WIP, then I do King Coda, random WIP, and went back and forth. This year, I want to do that also, but I want to add a focus WIP. So I would do King Coda, and then after King Coda was finished, I would do a focus WIP. And what I'm going to choose for focus WIP is one of my WIPs that I really want to get done this year. Like my Red Birds might be one, or my Winter Piece. I also want to stitch, like I said, those ornaments for my brothers and sisters and my children, and our tree, and I want to do a Halloween tree. And if I have Stitchy gifts that I want to give to people, I need to get those worked on more often. So that's what my focus WIP category will be. So I'll choose one project that I want to do, and I'll just rotate that one regularly until it's finished, and then I'll stick another one in that spot. So the way my rotation will work this year is I'll do a rotation with King Coda for the 2 lines, and then switch to the focus WIP, work on that for 12 hours, and then I'll do the random draw WIP, work on that for 12 hours, or the goal, and then go back to King Coda, back to the focus, back to the random draw. And hopefully that will let me touch more things and get things that I want to get finished done to work on them more regularly. The problem is I'm still trying to figure out a comfortable number of WIPs for me, because everything that I have started, it doesn't look like it, but I do want to make progress on them, and I want them finished. So I'm not a process stitcher. I want stuff done, but I'm drawn to really large things that are going to take me 1,000 years to do. So I have to find this balance of being able to work on all my large things to try to get them finished, but I want to stitch all the things too, so it's really tough. So I think this will help me get some progress and get things finished that I want to get finished, and make progress on my BAPs, the big, big projects that I want to get done too. So that'll be my rotation. And my stitch goals for this year, like I said, I want to do the Stitchy gifts, the Christmas ornaments. I want to get Halloween ornaments done for, I have a Christmas tree that I bought that I want to make a Halloween tree. It's black. So I want to get some Halloween ornaments done for that. I want to get the stockings started for all of our family. Those are the big ones. So like I said, the Stitchy gift category will be probably stuff that I'll stick in my focus WIP rotation. I want to, I don't know about you guys, but I watch Priscilla and Chelsea. I know probably all of you do, but Priscilla has a lot of really cool ideas on finishing and the items that she uses to swap things out. So I have an entire closet full of finishing things that I bought to hang on the wall for certain pieces that are just sitting there waiting for me to actually stitch the project to finish them on so I can hang them on my walls. So the problem is we have a really small house and I've bought a lot of stuff to hang on my walls because I'm like, oh, I need this for my one farm series, and then I need this for my other farm series, and I need this for the ABC series. Well, sometimes I forget what I've already bought things for because I've bought it with the intention of getting these things stitched and getting them up on my walls, but I haven't. So one of my Stitchy goals this year is to actually go through my closet of things I've purchased specifically in mind for projects, figure out what those projects were, and if I don't have them started or I don't have that series started, then I want to get those WIPs started so I can get those pieces finished and get these FFOing things out of my closet and onto the walls with my pretty cross stitch pieces on them like they should be. So that's one of my goals. And another one of my goals is to try to stick to my rotation because when I did do it last year, I felt really good about the progress I made and being able to work on several WIPs. Like, we all have those WIPs that if you just picked, like, they don't call to you as strongly as others, so they tend to get overlooked sometimes. And what I found was when I did this random draw, it's only 12 hours. So I found that when I started working on these different pieces, even though they weren't ones that would have been probably my choice if I got to just pick what I wanted, once I actually started working on them, I loved working on them. They were a lot of fun, and I almost didn't want to stop after the 12 hours. So I want to try to stick to that rotation. So I probably won't do very many sals or challenges. Might do some when my WIPs fit into them, but that's sometimes the things that kicks me off my rotation is if I try to do too many challenges or stitch alongs or whatever. I want to try to be more consistent with Flosstube and try to do them on a more regular basis. I'm shooting for probably monthly would be good. I'm doing Stitch from Stash. I usually try to do Stitch from Stash. I'm really good at it for the first probably 2 months after Christmas because I feel like, oh, I just spent a ton of money for Christmas, so I need to settle down with my spending. So I try to do Stitch from Stash, and I'm usually really good up until about March, and then I start to fall off the wagon. So I want to try to do Stitch from Stash for the full 6 months because it goes, the first session is through July. And what that means is it's ran by Miss Oh So Crafty. It's a Facebook group. And you basically just try to stitch your WIPs that you got going, stitch when you want a new start. You pick from things you already have kitted or anything, you know, from your own stash instead of buying all the new patterns. And you can set a budget of up to $25 a month. So you do get to buy some things, like if you need floss, if you see a new pattern that you absolutely have to have, you can spend up to your budget. And when you finish things, there's finishing credits, so you can earn money to spend on Stitchy stuff from finishing things that you have going. So I'm going to try to do that and try to behave myself and actually finish in the positive this time. I've done it 2 other times. The last 2 years I've done it. And like I said, after about March, I completely fall off the wagon. And by the end of it, when July rolls around, I'm like negative $400. So we're going to try to be in the positive this time. And so far for January, since I bought those 2 patterns for the koalas, I'm negative $1. So I need to probably not buy anything else and just focus on finishing some stuff. So that is all I have. So I hope you enjoyed the WIP Parade. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and spending some time with me today. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. New viewer, welcome. And any of my old subscribers, or you're coming back to watch me, I appreciate you guys doing that. It means a lot to me, and I really appreciate it. So I will hopefully make another video in February and talk to you about how my rotation's going and stuff. So until then, happy stitching all.